Boom.
Boom.
Here we are. And here's our super sweet intro.
Live from a snowbound traffic jam on I-70, you're listening to Downshift with your hosts, Ryan and Jason. This is the Colorado Cars and Coffee podcast by car enthusiasts for car enthusiasts. Clutch in, gear down, and let's start the show.
All right.
Lovely.
Worked.
Lovely.
And I'm going to get the music on in the back. Yeah, I remembered. I think we're good.
DJ Ryan on the wheels of steel.
I think we're good. I'm on the mouse over here, yeah.
The mouse of plastic.
Hey.
Well, hello.
Here we are, episode 2, Downshift, Colorado Cars and Coffee podcast.
We made it.
Slightly more prepared than last time.
Marginally. Steve hasn't canceled us, so that's the good thing.
Yeah, we'll see how it all goes. We've got an hour to not fail.
not just not fail, but exceed expectations
and learn something. We could be learning for years. As usual, I'm Ryan.
I'm Jason.
Chevy Beretta fiend, joined by my co-host Jason, some random idiot I found on the street who loves cars. Pretty
much, yeah. That's almost exactly how our origin story went.
It's just about true, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll cover this other quick blip, and then I'll let Jason take the wheel. Colorado Cars and Coffee for Colorado automotive enthusiasts by Colorado automotive enthusiasts. When you see me looking over, again, I'm in like a command center here, so I'm looking at all kinds of notes and stuff. You can find Cars and Coffee, Colorado Cars and Coffee specifically, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, on 2 different channels, I'm told. I don't know what the second one is.
There's a shift. There is a shift channel.
Ah, that's right.
There's a Shift magazine Colorado channel and a Colorado Cars and Coffee. So just search both when you go to YouTube. We are on the Colorado Cars and Coffee YouTube channel, as always.
I got Twitch set up, so we should be streaming right now live to Twitch if that's your preferred platform. Go and drop us some
Twitches.
Coins. It's been a long time since I've been on there, whatever that is.
Bitcoins.
We've got a bi-weekly newsletter that we put out covering Colorado's local car show, meet, and cruise scene primarily, but there's other little tidbits in there. Shift Colorado, digital magazine put out quarterly by one hell of a production team.
Which will be
getting any idea what goes into them producing that, and we're going to talk about it later. That's actually one of our guests.
Yeah,
we'll dive into that.
Yeah, we'll be joined by a shifter
and supposedly Threads. I'm told we have a thread. I don't know who's doing what with it. I've never even touched Threads. It's not on the list, but I believe we're on X.
I still call it Twitter.
That Twitter, if that platform's still a thing, you can find us there. I won't go into anything political.
That's wise.
That is not for this show.
I'm sure Steve will appreciate that as well.
All right. Well, Jason, first note, it's on you. Let's hear it.
So we wanted to take a minute to really just shout out to all the folks in LA right now. Obviously, we know there are a lot of people that sort of transition between Colorado and LA, and we have a lot of friends and colleagues. Personally, I have a lot of work colleagues that are out in the LA area, and we have friends of friends who are out there, folks that we know who have friends at the Peterson Museum and all over the California car scene as well. And we just really wanted to shout out lots of love and support to all those folks out there who have been impacted by the fires. Just such a horrific and unimaginable situation. And, we just want to show them some love and let them know that we got their backs, and we have, we want to show some support for them, folks in Altadena, Pacific Palisades, wherever you were. Definitely thinking about you guys, and hope that everyone recovers well and things can go back to normal. So definitely sad to see images of homes burned down, cars burned down and bulldozed and abandoned. So definitely going to be feeling the impacts of that one for a while. So lots of
One
love
of those
for
things,
those folks.
People don't realize that something that large of a scale is going to ripple through the United States. It's not
Absolutely
just going to stay in California. I actually have a Beretta group buddy. At one point, he had they shut off the power to his home in order to help prevent transistors popping and creating, an additional mess.
Yeah.
He didn't have power for like 3 days
Wow.
or more. I don't know. So, yeah, again, we're with you. You can rebuild all these positive statements. It just seems to get worse every year. I mean, thankfully, I don't want to curse anything, but I don't think Colorado Springs set on fire last year. So I'll knock on my plexi whatever desk here. And
Exactly.
We wish you all the best.
Yes.
Which is all we can really do from behind our desks right now. So
that's it. Well, on a more positive and uplifting note, we have an excellent guest. We have two excellent guests with us tonight. Our first excellent guest is the great Bill Levasseur. He was the guy who gave us our professional VO in our first episode, and this episode, that was actually his lovely wife who recorded. Bill also recorded a version of that intro, but we thought his wife did a great take on it, and we liked her variation and her little flair on the welcome to Downshift. So
yeah, it's slightly more aggressive, Bill.
Yeah.
Take note.
So let's go ahead, and I'm gonna bring Bill in right now.
Wow.
And here he is, the man himself. He's a man with a face for television and a voice for radio. So he's handsome. He looks handsome and sounds handsome, and that's more than I can say for myself, certainly.
Filters, all filters.
Really good AI.
You're absolutely destroying our background game as well.
This is all a set back here. So
it's just it's a green screen.
Exactly. You still want to talk to me, or should I have my wife come in here? I don't know if.
I mean,
no, we discussed it ahead of time. I had the idea to use your intro, and then we were going to bring you on, and say, hey, we understand it's a bit of a family affair, and then play hers, but we wanted to give her the full spotlight.
Gotcha. No, she deserves it. Yeah.
So we ran with it.
Nice.
Yeah. So tell us, you're a really interesting guy, Bill. You have a lot of experience. You were in the Air Force. You then got into commercial acting, and you were the Coors guy. Now you do work with OEMs like Lucid and Ducati and Ram. You are a Porsche enthusiast. You were just at the Toronto Auto Show. So
Montreal. And then
Montreal.
Toronto,
yeah. So give us some of your backstory. Tell us, how did you get to where you are now? What do you love about cars?
So
take it away.
Yeah, I was a military brat, and I knew I was going to join the Air Force like my dad, and I signed up to do whatever they wanted, and I ended up becoming an F-16 crew chief, which is great because I love working with my hands. I love building things, and I was a Lego kid and all that stuff. So
nice.
But right after Desert Storm, I had the opportunity to do some modeling, which was at first embarrassing because I was a tough military guy, and then they told me the pay rate, and I was like, sign me up, I'm out of here. So went and
make some real money.
It was ridiculous, the disparity there. But so yeah, I got out after 5 years, went to New York, did some modeling. That led into acting, and some of that acting turned into being able to do things that I like doing anyway, which is I'm just constantly in the garage rebuilding things. I just came out from underneath the dash to come up here and do this, doing some wiring stuff. So just kind of fell into it. My dad was always in the garage or under the vehicles, and I was always with him, and just kind of continued to that day. That's my addiction, I guess, is just working on things and see how they work, if I can fix them. And that's kind of led me here somehow.
Very cool. So tell us about, so F-16. Oh, and there we go. We've got a little surprise.
I'm going to slide that
for
in
you.
real quick. Bill's personal page, billlevasseur.com.
You guys say that much better than I do. But yeah, this is one of those things you kind of have to have as an actor. And what I've found is I've been super lucky in doing the kind of acting that doesn't require a whole lot of acting. My Coors commercials,
the Coors guy,
me smiling. Yeah, I get to smile and
drink a beer.
This. Hey, so I don't have to emote and all that. My Dodge Ram commercial, I had to pretend that I planted the grass at Folsom Field, and I
watched that one.
It's a really cool kind of thing to be able to do what I enjoy and get paid for it. So, and then the VO stuff came in because it was just you do a lot of commercials and stuff, and sometimes they say we're not changing anything but the price or the terms or whatever. So can you just do a quick VO to cover that? And that's turned into kind of a full-time thing as well. But yeah, but that website that kind of covers all the stuff I've been up to. So
nice. So yeah, tell us. So what was it like being a crew chief? You're a technician working on fighter jets rather. What was that like?
It was cool because when I was the youngest crew chief, I joined at 17, right out of high school, graduated a year early, joined up, and there was a shortage of crew chiefs. And so I got my own jet, which was really, really weird over in Misawa, Japan. The one bit of advice my dad gave me when I was signing up for the Air Force was don't do anything out on the flight line. You don't want to be outside. You don't want to be doing anything. And of course, I became an F-16 crew chief. But it was really cool because, again, 17 years old, I barely had a driver's license, and now I'm responsible for this multi-million-dollar aircraft with my name on the side of it. And it was cool. It was work though. It was a lot of work, and having to, as the crew chief, you didn't really get to do a lot of the work yourself. There were specialists that had to do. So the pilot would come back and say, "Chief, we had a fault here," and I would go get the weapons guy or the navigation person. But again, it was cool being a part of that, especially during Desert Storm. It was kind of an interesting time. My dad was in Vietnam. I was in Desert Storm. My brother was in Desert Fox. So we all kind of did our little tours. And
wow.
And now my son's not going to be in the military. We've decided that. So he's off to college next year. So
that's great. Where's he going?
He applied to 6 colleges, and the only one he's waiting to hear back on is CU, where his mommy went. My father-in-law was an organic chemistry professor up at CSU, so he's accepted there, but he's not sure if he wants to go to where his grandpa was professor. But then he added ASU to the list, and I think I know why. But so we'll see. It's going to be interesting, but no military.
They do have a certain reputation, I've heard.
They do. I'll visit him as often as he needs, of course. But yeah,
bring some of that Coors to ASU.
Whatever it takes. I don't know if they like to drink down there or not, but we'll figure that out. So.
Might have to make some friends, bro. Yeah. Your dad was the Coors guy.
It's funny because it wasn't cool to case in my son growing up. I don't think he immediately started doing Cabela's commercials with me and print ads and all this stuff, and he didn't think that was super cool until I started doing career days at his school. And then he saw the reaction from his friends and stuff. He's like, wait a minute, it's cool to be in a catalog, or it's cool to be on TV. And then he kind of blew up, and now he's if you ask him, he is first a model, then an actor, then an 18-year-old boy. So he knows how to work it. So
nice. Yeah.
So
tell us, I can tell by your background and from the pictures that you shared with us, you're a Porsche enthusiast. You have a beautiful red 930 turbo cabriolet with some really beautiful red basket weave wheels, excellent period wheels. So tell us about the love of Porsche and where did that come from? Was that something your dad was into, or did that come later in your life?
Looks like you've got some people watching.
Oh, wow, good.
There you go. And that's the first time we've ever dropped a comment on screen. So
there you go, Eddie. I'll send you $20. Thanks, buddy. But no, I was. My dad was stationed in Germany when I was born. I was born over in Bitburg, and he was a big Volkswagen guy. And my first car was either going to be a Volkswagen Beetle or a '55 Mercury. And my dad and I went and test drove the Mercury, and my dad said, "Absolutely not. You're getting the bug." And so I started doing Volkswagen stuff all the way up until I kind of did all the VW stuff and went, well, a Porsche is just an expensive VW. Let's kind of see what's going on with that stuff. And I've just been Porsche ever since. My wife's a Porsche girl. My son had to buy a BMW just to spite us, but that's okay. But yeah, I've had, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 Porsches, and yeah, I just love them. I'm literally surrounded by them, and they're fun little machines to work on. So very simple machines, especially that 930. It's just fun to drive. I've never owned a vehicle that gets that many looks, whether I'm pulling into a parking lot or at a stoplight, or teenagers wanting to race me in their lifted trucks or whatever. But it is a fun machine for sure. Yeah.
So tell us about some of the other Porsches that you've had.
My wife and I are both born in 71. So I found a 1971 911T that had been sitting here in Colorado for 14 or 15 years. Gentleman passed away and the car just kind of sunk into the ground. So I got that one, started rebuilding it, sold it for parts, got another one, had a couple 924s in the garage recently before this one came along. My wife's in a McCann. Got rid of our Panamera when we got rid of our Cabriolet when our son outgrew the back seat and got a Panamera, which is a great car, but it's not really a Porsche. So we got out of that, and now we've got a 930, my wife's McCann, and my son's BMW. And that's the great thing about working with all these other OEMs, like with Lucid and stuff, and these electric cars and these electric bikes. I get to go have my fill with all that stuff, which is a totally different world, 1,000 horsepower electric car. And then a 300 plus horsepower old Porsche. But both are just absolutely thrilling. So.
Yeah, you've got the ultra analog and visceral, and then you've got the super digital future. But actually, I drove a Lucid Air. It was about 2 years ago. My dad and I did a ride and drive at the Greenwich Concours d'Elegance in Greenwich, Connecticut, and they had a whole fleet of Lucids there. I think it wasn't the Sapphire. I think it was a Grand Touring.
Okay. Yep.
And we had about a 15-minute ride and drive in that. And that was, I must say, the chassis dynamics, the acceleration, the comfort, the cabin, the quality of the materials in the cabin, the comfort of the seats. It was just, it really blew my mind. It was like the level, comparing that to something like a S-Class Mercedes or a 7 Series BMW, right? Inevitably, or an Audi A8, which inevitably they want you to cross shop, which I'm sure, that's what Lucid would want you to cross shop against and pull people out of those cars and into Lucid Airs. I was blown away. I thought this, for the price, I was really impressed, and I thought, I would definitely get out of an S-Class and into an Air Grand Touring. I mean, the torque, the acceleration, the handling, it felt so nimble. It didn't even have air. They said it, because I thought, is this air ride? Or these adjustable, like mag ride? And they said,
Steel
no,
coil.
Exactly. They said they spent so much time and effort into engineering the suspension and the chassis dynamics and the steering feel, and I was really blown away. I was really impressed.
It just works. I actually did the Greenwich Concours 2 years ago. I didn't do this last one. I don't know if you were there 2 years ago, but I was there.
I was
in
there
the parking lot.
Okay, well, hold on.
Way back.
We might have met each other.
We might have.
That would have been
funny.
fun. Yeah. Well, anyway, so tell us, how did you get into working with the OEMs like Lucid and Ram and Ducati? What led to that?
The auto show circuit. When I got out of the service, I immediately I don't know how I found out about the auto show circuit, but there's a group of people that kind of travel every year with their OEM, and I signed up, and they put me on I think it was a Suzu first, which is no longer a thing. And then I asked for Porsche. I said, can I be Porsche? And they said, but Porsche doesn't do anything at these events. The cars are closed. And I was like, okay, well then who pays the most? And they said, how about Toyota? So I did Toyota. That led to them calling me one day and saying, hey, there's a motorcycle company. We can't tell you who. There's a motorcycle company that's looking for a couple of specialists. Are you interested? Because I have a motorcycle license and stuff. And I said, yeah, sure. I'm hoping it's a cool company, and it ended up being Ducati. And so that event turned into me being their corporate trainer for a few years, because they would have the Italian gentlemen come over here and try to train, 600 salesmen and women. And there was a language barrier, a little bit of a gap there. So they asked me if I was comfortable getting up in front of a group, and I am. So I became a corporate trainer. And then my boss from that, Jeffrey, he's a very, very great guy. He kept going to other different things, Ferrari, and then pulling me over to Pagani, and kind of following him around. And then finally he started up at Lucid, and he's like, you got to check out this electric car company. And so I've been with him ever since, and he's on to Harley Davidson racing now, which maybe there's something in the future for me with that. But yeah, so I just get really lucky kind of falling into these really cool opportunities, I guess. And just very grateful. But
there's nothing like falling into a bunch of opportunity like sounds like you have.
Horrible. Yeah.
So you are a motorcycle guy as well, then you ride. Yeah. Do you have a Ducati?
I had it. The nice thing about being part of the corporate trainer is I could go down here to Fay Myers and borrow whatever I wanted. So for Kaysen's 10th birthday, I borrowed a slingshot, picked him up at school. Everybody thought it was a Batmobile, and he was a cool kid for a couple of weeks. And then I picked him up the next year on a Panigale. So he got on the back of a Ducati Panigale. So I didn't have to have one in the garage, but I had access to them. But I don't ride as much. It's weird having a bright red motorcycle with a super loud exhaust, and people still don't see you somehow. And I much prefer the four wheels on the ground. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, my father is my father's also a Porsche guy. I turned him into a car guy. He was a little bit resistant, but over the years I wore him down, and eventually he became a car guy, and Porsche was always the thing. The 911 was always something he wanted. So I got him into one of those a couple years ago. And then he's been a motorcycle guy since it was like early high school. He got an old BMW bike, and now he has a BMW R1150R, and he has a Ducati Sport Classic.
Oh,
so
nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I was with him when they came out with that one. It was kind of, you don't have to be so hunched over. You can still have that kind of, it's a great machine.
Yeah, more of the cafe racer. It's got that classic sort of vintage motorcycle look, but with a little bit more modern tech. I think his is like an 08, 07, I want to say.
Oh, wow. Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So it was when they brought the Sport Classic back in in the 2000s, but I don't mess around with two wheels. I'm with you. I'm a four wheels guy. Yep. But my dad loves his bike, and he's over 70 now, and he'll commute to work on his motorcycle in the nice weather, and he's got all the gear and everything. And I say, that's great, Dad. You have fun. I'll drive the 911.
Nice. Then how did you become a car guy if it wasn't in your blood? Kind of like, I grew up with it, but.
Yeah, for me, it was really my grandfather. So nobody else in my family was really into cars at all. It was my grandfather. He was a big, this is my mother's father. He was a big car guy. He loved Jaguars. He had a lot of XJXs and XJ6s. He had the XJS Coupe. He had a V12 and a 6-cylinder. He had multiple XJ6 sedans. He had he was original owner of DeLorean, which I know maybe one of our listeners, Brendan Garst of Shift Magazine, will commiserate with DeLorean ownership. But he had a Lancia. He had, what else did he have?
Gosh.
Yeah. So he loved cars. He was all into that. And so that always I remember a really clear memory I have from a young age is he got me, it was this book and I've tried to find it for my son, because my son he's just over 5 now, but I can't find it anywhere. But it was like thick, like a cardboard pop-outs of classic cars. So the book had like all the stats and the technical information of all these classic cars, and you could actually pop them out and make these little 3D models. So they had, classic Bugattis and Mercedes SL, Gullwings, and, Porsche 911, Porsche 356, Ferrari, the old Ferraris and Maseratis and all that. stuff. And it was that book just left such a clear impression in my memory. And yeah, we always used to go, the town that I grew up in upstate New York, we had our county fairgrounds was in our town. So every year we had a car show. We had a couple car shows, all different stuff. There was, just general, like an annual car show with a little bit of everything, pre-war, post-war, European, American, very eclectic car show. And then we had another show that was like just hot rods and stuff. So it was like, you'd be sitting in town, like, eating lunch or something, and you just see this pack of 10 hot rods rumbling through and just shaking. The ground is shaking and awesome. All that stuff. But and then the older I got, is just the more, I read Car and Driver and Automobile, and it just like never went away, and it only got more and more exciting and thrilling. Obviously, when I had a driver's license, and then now it's like there's nothing else I'd rather do than talk about cars, look at cars for sale, fantasize about cars that I could own. I'm not a particularly technically adept guy, a mechanically adept guy. So that's great that you have that talent. I think you have to be very patient. My wife and I, we've been watching the Wheeler Dealers on Amazon Prime, and my wife thinks Ant Anstead is very good looking. So we've been watching those series where Ant is the mechanic. And I think he's just so enthusiastic. Like, you have to be enthusiastic about fixing things and about all the little details. And it's like, great, I get to take the engine out. Great, I get to do a transmission rebuild. Great, I get to rebuild the suspension. And I'm just not patient and technically savvy enough to be at that level. But tell us a little more about you and your dad. It sounds like you worked on cars together then, growing up in Germany. You were around all that stuff, and
I was that typical holding a flashlight for him, all that kind of stuff. He never
I think
told
that's
me
everyone's internship is flashlight holder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it was cool because he never told me I couldn't do something. He was just kind of like, let's give it a shot. This isn't working. Let's figure it out. And it was even with stuff that I had, a clock radio in my room wasn't working. He's like, let's take it apart, figure it out. So I think that really helped with the kind of constantly just trying to, even with my son, I gave him an old PC and I said, let's take it apart. Let's see what's in here. So he has no desire to do the car stuff. Like I was waiting for him to get old enough to want to be in the garage with me. And that's just not his passion. And it took me a while to realize that he wasn't just being a jerk, that he was just, because I was like, okay, now you have your own car. Let's go figure out how to, let's put some new plugs and wires and stuff in there. And he's like, okay, you want to come get me when it's done? And it's like, no, come get dirty with me. So he's worked on a few things. He's capable. But I think there's so many other things a teenager can do now. Whereas, you're sitting out in Bitburg, Germany, in the middle of nowhere, and your dad's working on the Ford van. It's like, I guess I'm gonna go help. But I think I'm super grateful that he never said, you can't do that. We did a TV show for a while called Brainstormers, and it was with my best friend at the time, and he grew up with his dad being in control of all the kind of cool stuff, the welders and all that. And so he always said, you can't weld. I'm the welder. So during this TV show, it was kind of cool because it was like, let's try it, Ryan. His dad didn't like it a whole lot, but I was like, let's try it. Let's try welding. What could, we know what could happen, but so it was kind of cool to see the difference of like trying and failing and then trying again. And so it was, it was kind of a cool, and just one last thing on production, we were talking about the Wheelers Dealers. During that show, I always, they would say, okay, let's go ahead and build this wind turbine out of a whatever. And the production would cut and they'd say, okay, guys, that's a wrap for us. Tomorrow morning when we show up here, hopefully you guys had a working thing. It's like, well, we've also just been shooting 14 hours and we'd like to get some sleep or whatever. It's like, well, it needs to be working tomorrow. Yeah. So once you get a professional show like Wheelers Dealers, they have people that come in and, Ant's excited about taking out that engine because he knows as soon as they cut, he's going to go grab a coffee and, he's really good. I'm just saying it's kind of, there's like
send in the background.
There's a behind the scenes
whole team of people. Yes. Like, that's how that's done. But But yeah,
right.
no,
It's not just him ripping
Yeah.
the car, tearing the car down, and
Right.
yeah, because at the end of every episode, they detail out, oh, here were all of our costs, and then it took so many hours, right?
Yeah.
28 hours, 30 hours, and it's like, well, this episode was 45 minutes long, so
Right.
there was a lot of work that happened when the cameras were off, when they
Yeah.
cut, and
Unreal expectations for sure. Yeah,
yeah, it's the magic of Hollywood, I'm sure.
for sure. Yep.
So yeah, tell us a little bit, because you just got back from Canada, from our friendly neighbors to the north, and what were the I know the auto shows in general have evolved and changed so much through the pandemic, and I mean, I remember growing up, I'm from New York, so I remember going to the New York Auto Show with my dad, actually many years when I was a teenager, and then in college, and after college we'd take the train into the city and check out the auto show. And I remember that, like you said, that there were certain OEMs that really just blew it out and had these amazing displays and had really knowledgeable people there that were walking around, and they can tell you, oh yeah, all the features and the technical specifications, and those folks really have to know their stuff to speak intelligently to the public about the cars, educate them, get them excited, hopefully generate some interest in sales. So what was the vibe like up at the auto shows in Canada and Montreal, and what's your favorite part about, I guess, with the rise of EVs, that's probably the way that a lot of these auto shows are headed, where it's not as many supercar. That was what you always went to the auto show, because you wanted to see the new Ferrari, the new Koenigsegg, the new Pagani, and Bugatti Veyron and all that stuff. But then now it's EVs, but there's a lot of cool stuff. I imagine you get all the tech and the interior innovation and such. So what are some of those aspects of the working at those auto shows that you're excited about, and what did you see and experience in Canada that we can be excited about as we roll into the auto show season in the US?
I'm surprised that the auto shows and motorcycle shows are still a thing. I know they've kind of died down quite a bit. 15 years ago, I was, somebody like me would be that knowledgeable person that you'd come to get all those questions answered. And now everybody's got it, right there. So it's like, oh, well, I was just on this website, or I was just, watching.
Let me refer you here.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, so now it's more like they're trying to show you how much they know about things, or, I heard that this thing doesn't really charge as fast. So the Canadians were all great. Great poutine. I'm a big fan. And Lucia was actually there on the supercar floor. So we were surrounded by Ferraris. We had Lotus, Lamborghini, and it was kind of interesting because we could say, this car that you're looking at right here, this vehicle is faster than any of these beautiful machines that you see around you. It's that instant, 1,234 horsepower, instant power. But everybody's trying to do something unique. I think the concept cars are still a really cool thing to see, and just kind of, there's pieces and parts of these concepts that are really going to come into production. And so that for me is just kind of the fun part of the shows personally, to go see what's coming up, what's next. But yeah, I'm just really surprised that people are still going to them, knowing that they can get all this information right here from guys like you and being online. So we'll see how much longer they go.
Yeah. And that's a great point about the concept cars, because I think that was always exciting to see. You'd grab Car and Driver or Motor Trend or Automobile, and they'd have the pictures of the concept car, but to see it in person. But then when the car came out at the dealership, it was always it wasn't quite there.
Another car. It was a different car.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Yeah. Yeah.
Unless it was
did that. Yeah. Porsche did that with the Taycan. They had that Michelin. It's like, oh, that's going to be so cool. And it's like, okay, Taycan's still cool, but
yeah.
What happened? Yeah. No.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when Audi, when they were developing their first SUVs, and they had this concept car. It was called I think it was the Steppenwolf, the Audi Steppenwolf, and it looked so cool. And then when it came out, right, it was the Q7, which was good looking, but it wasn't as incredibly radically cool, and all the interior detail, it looks far more conventional. And of course, we know that concept cars don't have to adhere to any regulations and any guidelines or anything. So of course they have to the car companies have to make it a real car, but there's like the Chrysler PT Cruiser that transitioned pretty linearly from the concept to the actual production car. I have a Mark 1 Audi TT that was fairly similar. The concept car was really wildly, people were wildly enthusiastic, and it was very, very, everyone was very hyped up about it. And then when the actual car hit the dealers, it looked quite similar. So yeah, I think there are some exceptions maybe with EVs, because there's so much more flexibility that they don't have to design it around an engine and a transmission. That there's more flexibility to make the designs. And I happen to think the Lucid Air is a gorgeous car. Like when you look at it in person, there's so many cool details. Yeah,
and we have the Gravity is the SUV that just released, and that is ridiculous as well. So yeah, some fun stuff coming up.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, we thank you. We don't want to take up too much more of your time. You've been great. We really appreciate you and your wife. Her name is Lena.
Yeah, Lena.
Yeah, big shout out to Lena Levasseur as well, and thank you guys for lending your vocal talents to our humble little show here as we get off the ground. And thank you for sharing your stories. Really, really fascinating. And thank you and your family for your military service as well. And we're just grateful to have you as part of our little crew here, and we'll definitely be in touch with you in the future. But thanks for coming and sharing some of your automotive passion and enthusiasm.
Thank you guys. I've been getting in front of the camera for over 30 years, and for some reason this is maybe so nervous when you guys were like, okay, I was like, what am I going to do? So this is great.
Rest assured, there's zero reason for that. But we did have something for you just in case you've never seen your name in lights before.
Oh boy.
This episode is brought to you by you.
The voice
and the voice, nice. You can now proudly add the voice of Downshift to your resume. In fact,
I love it.
You might want to drop that, front page on your website.
There should be a little asterisk that says, unless they use Lena, something on there.
Again, thank you very much for lending us your talents, your time on the show.
Thanks so much, guys.
Everybody check him out. At least visit the website and go watch some old Coors Guy commercials.
There you go. I can't wait to see episode 202. So exciting. Keep it up, guys.
We appreciate it.
Awesome.
Cool, well, thanks again for your time, sir.
Yep.
Appreciate it, guys.
Have a great evening.
Have a good one, Bill. Thanks. You too. All right. Well, that was great. Man, what a cool life. That's a guy who's living the dream, I would say, right?
Yeah. I've fallen into some scenarios before, but that guy's, no offense, Bill, but that guy's professional career was like opportunity. Let me open this door for you. Way to go. Like, you get that ball rolling, you got to keep it moving. So
100%. Well, we're actually going to roll right into our next guest, who's also a very talented gentleman. So welcome to Jake, who's, I say he's a talented gentleman, and more importantly, he's a very talented fellow Italian, which is important because just being Italian adds 10 points to your talent score and greatness and sex appeal. So as handsome and talented as Bill was, being Italian makes you and I, Jake, gives us an advantage that other people just don't have. So,
well, ciao, Jason. Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me on today.
Ciao, ragazzi.
I've heard that my video quality might be a little down, but that's okay. I've got a face for 720 pixels anyway.
So Jake, we will intro you. Jake is a man. You work at a body shop by day, and you are a contributor, an editor, and photographer for Shift Colorado magazine. And if anybody hasn't read issue 10, go back and read issue 10 now. You should go to shiftcoloradomagazine.com, Google Shift Colorado Magazine, and you will find it. But more importantly, Jake is here to talk about a little bit of give us some tease some content that's coming up in issue 11, which you and the Shift crew are currently elbow deep in right now. You are all into the nitty gritty of Shift issue 11. So
I don't know when the Shift team
are
isn't like in the trenches. You guys are doing something all the time. Like I'm constantly blown away. After the first issue, were you part of the very first issue?
No, I actually joined in after issue 6 was my first issue. I joined on as a contributor talking about lemons, which is actually how I met the guys on the editorial staff. And then I've just been kind of a staple with the magazine ever since. Something I always wanted to do, and then it just kind of panned out where I met Chris Colton at the Lemons at High Plains 2 years ago, and then it all just spiraled into me just showing up to all the events and having a blast.
Oh, once Steve and Colorado Cars and Coffee get a hold of you, you're not going anywhere.
Exactly. We like to have a lot of fun.
Get out.
But yeah, so we're currently in between releases. We just released issue 10 back in December. If you want to go back and watch me break every car that I touched in an issue of the magazine, go back and read issue 10. Issue 11 we've got coming out, and pretty much every weekend since last weekend, we've got stuff lined up for production. So we were actually out last weekend shooting 2 of our press cars for the upcoming issue. We had a 2024 Land Cruiser First Edition and a 2025 Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. And that was kind of a fun weekend just because we don't really get there's no redo if the weather doesn't hold out for us for our press car shoots. Mm-hmm. So we ended up shooting those cars in a blizzard up in Coal Creek, which was pretty fun. Luckily, we had 2 vehicles that are relatively off-road capable, so we got to showcase that in our photo shoot.
Yeah, what better way to show their capabilities and let them shine a little bit than do some light off-roading through the snow, winter wonderland.
Yeah, absolutely. It's perfect because this is our winter issue of the magazine too, so we'll have plenty of snowy content to throw in there and showcase the beautiful scenic Colorado backcountry in some of those photos.
Yeah, and that's the thing I love so much about Shift is that I think it really highlights all of the amazing. I mean, Ryan and I get we're exposed to that all the time because we work on the newsletter. So we see all the events, we see the new events, we see all the recurring events. So we're always impressed by all the great events, public events that are going on in Colorado, and supporting Colorado car culture is what we love. But Shift magazine just takes that to the next level with the talent of the photography, the talent of the writing. I mean, the folks who are involved, like yourself, who are, editors, writers, photographers. We have, so many people who go in and just make it all so professional, and just the stories, the people that you're talking to, the cars that you're showcasing, some of the not public events that you're showcasing, and getting behind the scenes access to a lot of really cool stuff, like having press cars. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about that relationship with getting press cars, because that's something you think, oh yeah, that's only for Motor Trend and Car and Driver, and then people that actually have YouTube channels like Smoking Tire and Spike's Car Radio, people with millions of listeners and viewers and all that. But what do you guys do, and how do you get these press cars?
So the press cars are pretty fun. We develop relationships with the manufacturers that lend them to us. And then they come to us via a third party, like a fleet management company. But the manufacturers are the ones that give us the access to it. And basically, so yeah, we did a Prius, which surprisingly, this car rules. I don't think anybody was expecting to get a Prius.
Everyone commented on the looks primarily, I think, and that they just loved it.
It drove well.
I believe they're quality cars that came with, kind of a bad rep from their first few model years, but look at that. I had to bring it up.
I think they've come a long way
and showcase some of the quality that goes into this the production of this magazine. Like quality investigative journalism, if you will. The photography, the writing. It's all here, and it's super easy to go download and read through. Over 100 pages, almost guaranteed. Every issue.
Yep. Every issue has been over 100 pages since I've been on board, at least. The press car articles do take up quite a bit in there. These are usually one of our biggest features in every issue of the magazine, just because we like to go through and we do a deep dive on how that car relates to the Colorado car enthusiast. We try to cater it to our audience for the most part. Obviously, we have the scenery to work with, so the photography tells the story there. But the Prius was one that just kind of surprised all of us. Like, I think we were all a little bummed when we found out it was a Prius, because we don't have much say in what we get. We ask Toyota for a vehicle, and they tell us what they have available. So they had a Prius. Brendan, who's actually listening, was the one that responded to the email.
That's him right there.
And
I know that guy.
Yeah, there he is. And he told all of us, and I think he was expecting everybody to be bummed, and then it showed up, and everyone was like, "This is actually a great car." It's not the most fun thing to drive, but if you're gonna buy this thing as a daily driver to get around Denver, which is what we did with it, it's perfect.
Yeah, and all-wheel drive now, right? It's a all-wheel drive vehicle, so
yeah, it's all-wheel drive now.
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
And one of those all-wheel drive setups. So it's the
Oh, okay.
It's an electronic motor in the rear with no actual connection to the internal combustion engine, which is a cool setup too. And Toyota sort of pioneered that technology.
Yeah. Toyota's been for a long time. I feel like they've kept EVs at an arm's length, and they've been like, we do hybrids.
I think that's saying something, though. They're pioneers in the industry, so maybe the future isn't necessarily all electric. I don't know what Toyota's view on it is, but they only offer one fully electric model, and it's shared across a platform with multiple manufacturers. So it's just not their focus. They are killing it with the hybrids. The Land Cruiser we just had is actually a hybrid, and an enjoyable hybrid.
I could be mistaken, but I think it was Toyota that said hybrids are the way of the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hybrid,
they've been exploring hydrogen quite a bit too.
Call me out if you want, but someone said that, and I think it was Toyota. That's why they aren't focusing on full electric.
Yeah,
but
they're pioneers in the hybrid technology, and
you mentioned.
I think Toyota felt a little bad for giving us the Prius,
but they didn't feel bad for giving you the Land Cruiser.
I'm sorry.
Yes. We'll make it work.
So they felt bad for the Prius, and they gave us the Land Cruiser. I like to think that's how it went. But the Land Cruiser was much more enjoyable. Not saying anything bad about the Prius, but it was an enjoyable car to have for a weekend. I didn't actually drive that one. That was Chris Colton and Dustin Kraft were kind of heading that one up. I had the Nissan Rogue, which also surprised me.
Yeah,
it was nice of Toyota to give you a consolation vehicle after the Prius.
Absolutely.
So
I like to
give
think
us
that
some...
they.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jeff. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, give us some don't spoil anything, but give us some first impressions about this Nissan, because I think we all read the headlines and we see that Nissan might be in some financial trouble. I think they're far from the automaker that they used to be. Certainly when I was like in middle school and high school, where Xterras and Pathfinders were quite hot shit, and where Infiniti was the G35 and G37 were just super competitive against BMW and Audi. I think they've certainly come off that path a bit, and but give us some first impressions and some why should we be hopeful about the future of Nissan with vehicles like this Rock Creek?
So the Rogue Rock Creek is kind of following in that trend of, crossover SUVs are the most popular vehicles on the road right now. And every manufacturer is trying something to make them interesting. And a lot of them are leaning into we'll call it soft road category. So it's like, you know, a little bit off-road capable. They'll put some all-terrain tires on it. They'll give it like an impressive downhill assist just to make it so that it can get you to trailheads that may not be accessible by the average car. I wouldn't call it an off-roader by any means, but we had it in like 10 inches of snow up on Cold Creek Canyon, and it did really impressive. I think most of that's up to the tires that are on it, because they put brand new Falcon Wild Peak ATs on it, and those things crushed. It did really good in the kind of conditions that I think most people that would buy that car are going to use it for. You know, I think you'll see that on I-70 a lot heading up to Breckenridge, getting stuck in traffic.
Yeah, it's certainly not. I mean, I know you're a bit of an off-road guy. We have some other folks on the team, like Chris. Chris is a Land Cruiser and Lexus guy, and then Marty, he's also an off-road guy. And you guys did, I think it was that's one of the other articles from that will be in issue 11, right? Is you guys did kind of an off-road camping excursion, sort of overnight.
So that was actually in issue 10 when we did that. We called it Shift into Low.
Yes.
And it's one of the vehicles that I broke in the magazine. I broke every car I touched in issue 10, including my 91 4Runner, which ran into fuel delivery problems about halfway through that trip. But honestly, that made it so much more fun. We had so much more of a story to tell because it was just constant backwoods mechanical repairs the whole time, which was a good time.
I was going to say, you broke a 4Runner. Way to go.
I didn't really set myself up for success with that. My 4Runner is not a daily driver. It gets driven on the weekends occasionally. And so it hadn't been driven quite as much as it used to. And I took it out after maybe 2 months of not driving it at all, and didn't really give it a proper shakedown, and plugged up the fuel filter out in the middle of nowhere.
Oh boy. I just want to call out Brendan is in the comments saying that the Nissan Rogue came with free candy, and then he said to my comment about Nissan being in financial trouble, he says if that were true, they wouldn't be able to afford candy.
They gave us local rock candy to go with the Rock Creek. It was pretty good.
Rock candy.
It was interesting. It was funny when the guys dropped it off. They said, "Hey, we've got a little treat for you in there." And then I opened the door, and there was a bushel of rock candy from somewhere, some candy shop down in DTC. So the team was kind of fighting over who was going to get some of that. But yeah, back to the Rogue Rock Creek. I mean, it was an impressive crossover. In my opinion. I mean, putting good tires on it, since it's an all-wheel drive vehicle, albeit it's front biased, with good tires, that thing will get you where you want to go in Colorado. If you're just driving to the ski areas, or if you're going to the trailhead when you're hiking in the summertime, like, it'll get you there. It'll handle Forest Service roads as long as partially maintained, and it'll get you through some deep snow as improved, and you guys will see photos of it here in about a month.
Nice. Yeah, no, I'm excited. And yeah, I agree. I think a vehicle like that, if it has some degree of increased capability over the normal version, I think the next most important thing is that it looks rugged and tough, right? It's got that, chunky body kit, and like you said, the Falcon Wild Peak off-road tires, and you got, all kinds of, it looks tough. Like the Subaru, they've got those wilderness editions. So it's like, you're just driving to pick up groceries. That's what this is
competing with. This is competing with, I would say, the Forest or Wilderness, and I think personally it might even look a little bit better than the Wilderness. They didn't have to change the styling too much to give it the off-road feel. Just some plastic cladding and some nice rims that kind of match with their Pro 4X style on their pickup trucks. They did do a good job with this thing, though, and I'm excited to share it with everybody when we put our review up.
Yeah.
Didn't look quite as good as the Land Cruiser in the snow, but...
Yeah, and anecdotally, I've been seeing a lot of those new Land Cruisers and the new Lexus GXs around. I've seen so many of them around where I live, sort of down by Littleton, Highlands Ranch area. And I've also seen a ton of those Ineos and Land Rover Defenders, which I guess the new Defender's been out for a while, but the Land Cruiser obviously just kind of came out more recently with the Lexus GX counterpart. And yeah, I see a ton of those with paper plates, so brand new off the dealer lots.
I'm seeing a few of those myself in the Denver and Arvada area.
Yeah,
now that you mention it,
them all over. And
you started talking and it kind of hit me. I'm seeing them all over the place. And then I'm even noticing older ones that look like they've recently been made into rigs. You know, like, oh, I haven't seen that car before kind of thing. So I wonder if in general popularity is kind of popping off on those.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's
I think off-road ready vehicles are just going to sell well in the coming year. Like you said with the Ineos too, like I'm surprised at how many of those that I see on the road, and that's a good looking vehicle.
It is, and it's got a BMW. I mean, the biggest advantage over an old Defender, which is basically what it looks like. It's just styled like an old Land Rover Defender. The main advantage is that the Ineos has a modern BMW drivetrain, so it will actually start and run and go, as opposed to a real old Defender, which will likely not do all of those things often. So and I think there's only one Ineos dealer in Colorado, and that's down in the Springs. They're actually right next to Porsche Colorado Springs. And yeah, I see a ton of them all over, and I agree. I think they look cool. I think with a BMW straight six, and it's got some kind of, I think it's got the same ZF gearbox that the modern BMWs have. I mean, you can't really go wrong with that. And yeah, I think those are super cool. And yeah, maybe if anybody out there from Ineos is listening, give Shift Magazine a press car, and maybe you could do a head-to-head. Although maybe, I don't know if they would like that. If Toyota would let you do a head-to-head with an Ineos and a Land Cruiser, they might not like that. But that would be fun. So
I would love to check one out though. They've got some cool features too. Like there's one weird feature that I saw recently. They have two notes for the horn, and they have like a little attention grabber horn, so that if you've got somebody in front it turns green, you can just honk attention grabber rather than blaring your horn. And it's like little things like that with new cars that I get super into. It's like, how can we change something that's been around for 100 years and make it more convenient? So I think that's pretty cool.
Exactly. I was going to bring that exact point up when we had Bill on talking about, in the automotive showcase event or show. What more? What can you do with what we already have? You take the side mirrors and you turn them into cameras, and you put screens in the car. Like, it's one of those things. Just what can you do with what's there? What more can you add or create that isn't a part of a vehicle already? And I don't think that there's much. It's just the continual evolution of what we're used to since the late 90s or early 2000s kind of thing.
I think manufacturers are just going to have to start getting creative with the existing technology, and how can we improve this, whether it be something as simple as adding a note to the horn to grab somebody's attention, or just simplifying things, or working off of existing innovations or creating new ones. I think the automotive manufacturing world is going to get really interesting over the next few years. And I don't think the answer is big screens and everything either. I can't stand those.
Amen. Yes. No. I think we need more real gauges and less screens. I get that screens are necessary, but I can't stand, some of these cars, it's just all screens now. The gauge cluster is a giant screen. The infotainment and climate, it's just screens everywhere. I also wonder, like, in a decade plus, how are they going to repair, when the screen goes out? Is the automaker still going to support a replacement component for that screen? Because they will have evolved so drastically. So if you want to own one of these cars long term, having physical gauges is a lot more reliable, I would think, than having a lot of screens that may or may not be able to be replaced even in the future.
Yeah, I was going to say that
Crazy
same thing.
When those things go out, you're going to lose access to your climate control, to your cameras, to everything in the vehicle. Like, let's get back to putting knobs on things that you can actually turn.
Amen.
No, I agree. And along what Jason had to say, even when the car's a year old, something breaks. The way these cars are now, it's so electronically reliant. You can't just go, oh, look, that snapped. Take it out, drop a new one in. Especially if it's something behind your giant screen in the dash. Okay, how many relays or resistors or a new screen as these cars get more and more,
I see a lot of in my day job.
So do their bills. The repair bills just keep going up.
Yeah. So you work at a body shop, Jake. So tell us about, like, you see newer cars and older cars coming in, and I'm sure, like, newer cars, if you bang up the fender, the front or the rear fender, you've got backup sensors, in some cases cameras and laser and stuff embedded in there, depending on what make and model it is. Like, how much more expensive has it become for people to get collisions repaired because of all the tech that's in these cars now?
Everything is so much more complicated, and it requires a lot more training now. Everything, like, all cars now have radars in the front for distance sensing. They have sonar sensors. They have LiDAR cameras. I mean, and that's just changing the game as far as automotive repair goes, even outside of collision too, even just for mechanical repair. Brendan and I were just talking about a friend of his today at All Audi who needs somebody to help him calibrate distance sensing radars after he has to take a bumper off for a minor repair. And it's taking things that used to be a simple process and turning them into a much more complex, I don't want to say more difficult, but more complex process.
Right. Because now not only
vehicle repair very expensive. I was going to say, in turn, it's made the average vehicle repair more expensive. That's why everybody's insurance is going up.
Well, and shop labor has crept up over the last decade or so. And I think it's only going to continue to do so.
Yep. As more training is required to work on these vehicles, you're going to start seeing labor rates start to increase more and more as well.
Yeah. And I think, and that's why I believe, like, Teslas are so a lot of them are difficult to insure, and they get totaled by insurance so much more easily than other cars, is because they've got all that tech embedded into it. So a relatively minor collision or accident, and you're looking at so much damage that I'm sure insurance says, oh, hey, I don't even want to cover that, it's totaled. And then you're up the creek, well, you're up the road without a car is what you are.
But we'll start seeing more. I think, some changes are going to have to be made to the insurance world in order to, to accommodate the ever-changing vehicular landscape. Insurance companies are just going to have to start getting more educated as to how these things work. And that's the issue that I run into on my day-to-day basis at work, is insurance companies just don't understand the complexity versus, the repairers. But it's an ever-changing world, and things are going to be improving here shortly, I'm sure.
Definitely. Yeah. So maybe give us one more teaser from Shift 11. What else can we be excited about without giving out, don't show the whole hand, don't give it all away, but what else can we be excited about for issue 11?
We've got two things. So one of them we actually just shot this morning. We were hanging out with Rocky Mountain Fiat and Lancia Club this morning, which was really cool. We got together with a few old Fiats and an old Lancia Scorpion, and we did a rolling photography shoot. It was a good time.
Speaking of, I was going to drop a teaser in there real quick.
Drop it, Ryan.
Go for it.
Trying.
Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot.
Oh, I see. I need to share a window. There we go. Hey, there you go. Grab your rollers, folks, and do it safely.
Harness is on.
Oh yeah, here we go. This is from this morning, actually. There's one of the spiders that we were shooting. That's the one newer spider that was there. This was just a great photo shoot for us. Every time we get together with the photography team, it's a lot of fun. We work with a top-notch team, and everybody on it has really good ideas, and it's all collaborative. Like, this doesn't just come from one person. This is everybody is contributing to how this shoot's going to go. You know, how are we going to differentiate, or how are we going to separate the cars? What stills are we going to shoot? What interviews are we going to do? It's the whole team really gets together on these, and it's really good.
Well, and this backs up my thoughts of, like, you just don't know how much goes into making this publication. It's not a fly-by-night zine. It's not an e-zine. It's not somebody, you know, in a dorm room hashing out a page worth of something. This is a professional publication.
It's quality. Yeah.
And you can see here what goes into grabbing some of the photos that are also of a very high professional quality. It's amazing what your team puts together.
Yeah.
And Jason and I just sit here behind these desks and blah, blah, blah.
Talent is extraordinary.
I feel blessed that I get to hang out with this team of very talented people, and I've learned so much. I mean, I was not much of a photographer before I started hanging out with the Shift team. And through hanging out with the talented photographers that we have, I've learned so much. And that's these shoots. Every time I do something new on these shoots, I'm learning something, and it's a great time.
And now you're all into ISOs and apertures and lenses and
yeah, I found another expensive hobby.
Yeah, long exposure shots. Yeah. I took photography.
And then I'll give you one more teaser.
Fast.
I'll give you guys one more teaser for issue 11, but I'm not going to give you a whole lot on it. So we are going to be doing a road trip article. We're going to be visiting some top culinary destinations on the I-25 corridor. But that's all I'm going to give you.
That sounds like someone came up with it for their own benefit.
Yeah. I wonder, who do we know? Who do we know around here that likes roadside food?
Pretty much everybody. I mean, that was the fun behind it.
If Buc-ee's,
we're all into road trips. We want to know how to eat on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if there isn't a stop at Buc-ee's, I think that's going to be a miss. But hopefully that will make it onto the schedule there of I-25 culinary delights and masterpieces. Well, let's see. I think we actually went a little bit longer than we thought we were going to go, Ryan. I think I want to close it out. I will give one more shout out for those of you who haven't read Shift Colorado issue 10. You should go back and read it before issue 11 comes out, because you don't have anything better to do. So why not go back and read that? There's a ton of cool stuff. There was a cool shoot with a MGB, so an old British roadster. There was a great under $40 RC car challenge. There was the aforementioned shift into low. There was a Cars of the staff. Kevin had his blue Audi TTS. There was there was coverage of a bunch of cool events like the BMW Car Club of America Oktoberfest, the Shelby American Collection 50th annual party. There was a Mercedes-Benz fashion event that I know Chris was at. So there were a ton of cool activities and events and challenges in issue 10. So you should go back and read that while you're waiting for issue 11 to finish baking. And then when issue 11 is all done and they take it out of the oven and it's set and ready for your consumption, as Jake teased, there will be some great content for you to read. I will also throw in one more teaser that I have an article that I wrote about a gentleman in Colorado Springs who is an avid hardcore BMW collector and enthusiast, and he has a BMW Z1. So there will be an article mostly featuring his Z1, but also featuring a lot of his other kind of quirky and interesting BMW vehicles in his collection, vehicles that you might not think about when you think BMW. He's a little bit more of the deep cuts rather than the best hits sort of a BMW collector and enthusiast. So that will be very cool as well. And yeah, I think we actually had a couple other things we wanted to talk about, but we are at time, so we will save those topics for next episode. Again, if Steve doesn't cancel us, there will be an episode 3 coming up at some point in early March, perhaps March 1st. We haven't gotten that far into planning, but we'll blast it out on the socials and let you know when the March episode, when episode 3 of Downshift is coming out. But we thank Jake for joining us and giving us some.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, giving us some of that behind the scenes. I should also say, not only is Jake an Italian American, but he's also a fellow Long Islander. We both grew up on Long Island. So I feel like in some future episode, we should have you on and we should talk about, the merits of the IROC. Oh, yeah, baby. Yeah, the IROC Camaros and cars of that nature that were very popular on Long Island, certainly when I grew up and spent a lot of time out there. So we can talk about that, and we can argue about who has the best pizza and bagels. So
I'd love that. Thanks again, guys. I really appreciate you having me on to talk about Shift Colorado.
Sure thing.
Thanks for being here and sharing some behind the scenes action with us.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Jake. We'll see you next time. Have a good night. And all right, Ryan, we're going to close out here. Let's see. Yeah, that was great. We had Jake, we had Bill. We went a little bit over on time, but I think we had fun. We got to talk to some interesting people, and that's what this is all about. It's all about sharing the stories and going deep on Colorado car culture. And I'm excited for next episode as well. So,
yeah. The few things we didn't cover this time around are just going to get shoved onto the list for next time. If there's anything that you would like for us to cover, you would like discussed, you would like to see, you can reach out to both of us and the entire podcast team, which is essentially
which I was going to say, we don't have an entire podcast team, right?
It's pretty much just that. You're looking at it. You can reach us at downshift at coloradocarsandcoffee.com. Tell us how great Bill looked. Tell us, what you want us to talk about, how well we did this time, what we can do better. This show is for you. While Jason and I do have fun sitting here rambling incoherently for slightly over an hour, we would like to present you with material that you would like to actually see. So if you have any ideas, send those to us. Big ups and thank you again to Bill Levasseur for coming through and not only doing a guest spot on the show, but recording our intros and doing custom ones even.
He's a great sport. We sent him these ideas, these silly things, and he's such a great sport about it. So yeah, it lends us with an outsized air of professionalism, I would say.
It gives a little polish to the turd, so to say. Also, thanks to Jake again for joining us and giving us a small look into all that is Shift Colorado, the Colorado Cars and Coffee digital magazine. New one coming up soon enough. They're done quarterly, so looking at the old Flesh Watch, I think it's coming in the next 2 months.
March. It says March 8th in the comments.
Oh, wow. We have a deadline. March 8th. Wow. 3 different people from 3 sources. Unless that came, I don't know how this tech stuff works. March 8th. There's a hard deadline.
All right. You heard it. You heard it here. We're giving you the first dibs. So, to the guys down in Colorado Springs, to Justin and to what's the other guy's name?
Aren't they your buddies?
I know, I'm just teasing. Yeah. I want to say Justin and Ryan, but what's the other guy's name? Yeah, I forgot. John. Oh yeah, that's it. I was teasing that whole time. To John and to Justin down at Porsche Colorado Springs, we're giving you the first dibs. March 8th is when Shift Colorado Magazine issue 11 will be coming out. And again, can't say enough how much talent there is there. The writers, the editorial staff, the photographers, super cool, deep bench of people, and also always bringing new people on, right? I think they're always bringing on certainly I see new photography talent quite frequently, folks that are jumping in and jumping on board to do different shoots with them. And yeah, just again, it speaks to the depth and breadth of automotive enthusiast culture that's here in Colorado, that there are so many people that are professional car photographers and that have the gear and the editing software and the knowledge to put these photo shoots together, and the people that have the enthusiasm and the talent to write about them, and in a semi-coherent way and semi-entertaining way. So
yeah, we can't say enough about it. If you haven't looked at least a single issue of Shift Colorado magazine, you really need to.
Go now.
I can tell you that I think you'll be blown away.
Yeah, go.
It's not just another car club newsletter. Like, it's way more than that. So go put your eyes on it.
Yeah, it is. And it is free, 100% free. ShiftColoradoMagazine.com, or just Google Shift Colorado Magazine and you will find it. Stop listening to us. Go now, read all the back issues, read issues 1 through 10, and then get yourselves excited and enthused for issue 11 on March 8th. And I think that's about it, Ryan. Do you have a secret Where's Waldo Beretta part back on your kitchen today?
Somebody, I gotta do something so they're easier to see, but there is a gauge cluster sitting on my stove. It's again, I need to like come up with some kind of display.
Vanna White, yeah.
Or maybe that's the fun. You gotta look back there and be like, what is that?
That's right. So for our loyal viewers, you'll be rewarded with something. We'll send you a special prize if you are the first to comment in the comment section on what the Beretta part is in Ryan's background.
Or random part. I almost had a gas tank from a very rare car sitting on the floor in the kitchen for this, but then I figured I'd tone it down.
Okay. What year and what model Beretta is that from?
Wow, I actually know that. That's from a 96 C26.
Nice. Okay. 96. Good year.
Exactly. Last year of the Beretta.
Oh, final year. Oh. That's all right. RIP. Maybe that's something we could get into next time. Talk about what we would want to see in a Chevy Beretta resto mod, because everybody else is doing resto mods. So why not resto mod a Chevy Beretta?
There's been a few interesting AI art generated things going around the internet, and no one seems to like them.
Well, the Beretta community
are too new.
Even the Beretta community doesn't like them?
Oh no, that we got torn apart in the.
Oh.
Someone put it up and was like, "What is this crap?" Like it's too new. It's just too new. You lose the
authenticity.
Yeah, you do. You lose the old school behind the whole thing.
Yeah.
And before you lit a fuse. So before this bomb explodes, with us talking about Berettas for like the next 5 hours,
we should get out of here.
This is Ryan and Jason signing off for the evening. Thank you again for joining us. We will see you in about a month.
Yep.
Early, what is May? March. Yeah.
We know what time it is. Yeah. No,
yeah, but we'll see you again in about a month.
Yeah.
And we don't have any cool outro. Anybody that does video want to hook us up with an outro? Because all I got is this. That
was lovely. Yeah, we'll blast it